How's it going, guys? It's Illuminati. Hopefully we can make it through the stream. It says I have an excellent connection, but I hear thunder. I'm in the Amazon rainforest and the weather's been kind of crazy. So hopefully we maintain a decent connection because we're going to talk about something really important tonight. And that is which conspiracy theories hopefully we can make it through the stream. It
real,
says I have an excellent
possibly
connection, but
basically
I hear
three
thunder.
tiers.
I'm in the
There's
Amazon rainforest.
definitely completely stupid.
Been kind of crazy. So
And in the middle,
hopefully we maintain a
maybe
decent connection.
and
Because
then
we're going to talk about
almost
something really
certainly.
important tonight.
We never really
And
have
that
any
is
absolute
how's it going, guys?
conspiracy theories,
But
but
are,
as it turns out, it's not really that difficult to
connection, but I
sort
hear
this stuff
three
out,
tiers.
separate
There's
wheat from the
Amazon
chaff,
rainforest.
and completely
see
stupid.
been kind of crazy. So
what's
and in
what
the middle,
and who's who, maybe.
connection.
And
Because
then
we're going to talk about
almost
something really
certainly.
important tonight.
We never really
And
have
that
any
is
absolute
how's it going, guys?
conspiracy theories,
Illuminati,
but
hopefully
are,
we can
as
make
it
it
turns
through the
out, it's
stream.
not really that
Real.
difficult.
Is that better? Should somebody let me know if that fixed the audio, because that happens almost every time I stream. I have no idea why. It should be fixed, but there's a big lag, so it takes a second for you guys for me to receive your answer. Yep, it's fixed. Okay, cool. All right, so, but the most important thing that I want to talk about is not necessarily the specifics of which conspiracies are real and which ones are not. The more important thing is that I feel like those of us that are thinking outside of the box, that are, representing the shit, I don't even know what to call this, the Illuminati. You know what I mean? People that are not buying the mainstream narrative. If we have a reputation for believing that the earth is flat and running around with tinfoil hats on our heads, and you know what I mean? Like and I even think, one of the conspiracy theories that I personally believe is that a lot of these ideas are propaganda. And they're actually created with the sole purpose of associating people that are outside of the box thinkers with insanity and stupidity and naivety and all of these sort of undesirable qualities. You know what I mean? So we have an obligation as people that are questioning things to make sure that our information is solid and that we have good critical thinking skills. And Marky, there's no chance that it's flat, and I don't really want to go through all of the flat earth stuff, but it's definitely the dumbest conspiracy theory ever. There is literally like 100 ways that you can tell that the earth is not flat. Every single flat earth model fails completely. There's not one that stands up to any kind of scrutiny. I mean, there's literally flat earth models that have like the earth and the sun spinning around, and the light from the sun just stops for some reason, just because the model doesn't work if it doesn't stop right there. It's obviously stupid. There's no possibility that the earth is flat. But I don't want to get into all that stuff yet. I have sort of a structure here that I'm trying to go through. But the kind of thinking, the kind of scrutiny, the ability to do our own research. You hear from conspiracy theorists constantly, you got to do your own research, but then they're the most uninformed people on the face of the planet. And so, that is an irony that costs me sleep at night, because that's not what we need. We do need people questioning the mainstream narrative. We do need people to see through the veil and into the truth. But we don't need to. No, man, Marky, you can just go outside and look at stuff. You don't have to have a scientist tell you anything. I don't need to get my information from anyone. You just use your brain and you look at stuff. It's really, really easy. Flat Earth is the dumbest. Okay, so here's one of the major pointers for figuring out if a conspiracy theory could be true or not. And that is, does it require too many conspirators? And that is one of the criteria where Flat Earth takes a running leap into a brick wall with no helmet repeatedly until it's dead. Because there's just no way that all of these pilots, sailors, people in the southern hemisphere that see different stars than people in the northern hemisphere. What is that about? What is an eclipse? You can go see Metallica in Antarctica. It's not off limits. That's just not real. So that's one of the things. Too many conspirators. So flat Earth fails miserably out the gates because it requires so many conspirators that it's just completely, obviously stupid. Plus, being a person that flies around the world, it's not flat. It's absolutely not flat. And since we've already dived right into this, I did want to talk about how, a lot of the things that are really just propaganda and population management have sort of been lumped under the heading of conspiracy theory. And that's probably the most dangerous part about this, because now anyone that's trying to elucidate any of the stuff that really is totally based in propaganda, they just call you a conspiracy theorist. And, to suggest that the elites might engage in population control, right? Sorry, there's pit bulls walking around and I have all these cables everywhere. There's also a quaddy running around. I've been worried that he's going to run through my cables and get everything all tangled up. Population control. This is something that empire has concerned themselves with since the time of Lao Tzu. There's no question about whether they do that. They've always done that. It's always been necessary. In fact, they don't just control the population, they engineer the population to have growth in certain sectors, certain demographics, and to decline in other places. And they can project into the future and say, okay, by this date, we're going to have this industry is going to be this size. And so we need a war right now in order to get rid of a bunch of blue collar people because we don't need them. You see World War III on the horizon, and then we have AI on its way. Oh, you bastard. Knew it. The dog took my fish. Here, at least lick up the stuff everywhere. Okay, so AI, World War III looming. What do you think that's about? What are we going to do with all these people when we have AI that doesn't use any waste, or doesn't produce waste, it doesn't use a lot of resources, and can do the work of a skyscraper full of people? What are you going to do with the billions of people, billions, not millions, billions, that are no longer able to do anything constructive? What are you going to do with them? World War III is what they're going to do with them. And other things that I can't mention without getting deleted. I mean, it's just absolutely insane to believe that the elites don't engage in population control. That's not conspiracy. That's just obvious observation. It's management. It is even, you could look at it like when your immune system is evaluating, what organisms can stay in your body and which ones can go. It's totally objective about it. It keeps the stuff that it needs and kills the things that it doesn't, and they become waste and they leave your system. So you know what I mean? That's not conspiracy. And then another one that I've been thinking a lot about lately is the Orwellian techniques they're using to scramble everyone's mind, to force people to abandon their integrity, to basically make it impossible to make them not be able to tell up from down. And so a great example of this is what's been happening with the last two presidents. Donald Trump gets caught with top secret documents. Biden gets caught with top secret documents. When it happens to Trump, no big deal. According to the Democrats, when it happens to, no. When Trump got caught, big problem according to the Democrats, no problem according to the right wing. Now, Biden, it happens, no problem for the left, huge problem for the right? So they have to take turns taking the opposite position, being a hypocrite. When it happened to Trump, it was the right's turn, and when it happened to Biden, now it's the left's turn. But everyone has to sort of lose their minds in order to, virtue signal and gain approval of the herd. Because, herd conformity, without that in our society, you're pretty screwed. And, this is a particularly huge problem that these apes, people are apes, whether you like it or not, that these apes have an instinctual drive to imitate the alpha, right? So one of the sort of incidentals of that evolutionary drive, or that instinctual drive, is that, and there have been studies that have shown this, if you take 10 people and put them in a room and only one person is not in on the experiment, and there are 5 lines and one of the lines is half the size of the rest of the lines, the person that isn't on the experiment will lie. I mean, it's super obvious, right? Super obvious that this one line isn't the same size. That person will lie. So the reality is, when you look out into the sea of social media and you see all of these people, all that are in consensus together, and it seems like, well, this many people saying all the same thing, it must be, no. Half of them might be lying because they think it's what they're supposed to say because everyone else is saying it. So it's not even necessarily true when you hear somebody parroting something that they actually believe it. So, that is all, when it comes time to break away from the herd and to see the world for yourself, you have to be able to define yourself. That old maxim, know yourself, that all of the greatest minds throughout human history have considered either number one or one of the most important. That is why, if you really care about walking in the light of truth, you have to be in accordance with your own being. And unfortunately, most people aren't. So, and then, there have been layers and layers and layers. Sorry, I'm just catching up with, the chat here. I knew this would attract some flat earthers, and it's just like, they say that water can't stick to itself, or that it doesn't form a sphere. Have you ever seen a fucking drop of water? I mean, come on, guys. Like, I have no hesitation to swing with everything I've got at flat earthers. I actually went and debated flat earthers in Vilcabamba, Ecuador. And when they realized that I was actually just slaughtering and decimating them, they resorted to threats of violence. Like, they threatened to kill me, my newborn baby, and my partner were there. There was a lady that was like almost 80 years old, and one of the guys who was an ex-Navy SEAL said to her, aren't you dying from cancer? Maybe I should just kill you now. And, they're just religious fanatics, and you're complete idiots. It's the dumbest fucking thing that anyone has ever conceived of. The earth is not flat. If you understand the basic laws of physics, you will understand why every object that you see in the sky is round. Like, have you seen when you see all of the planets, you look through a telescope, so you're saying the earth is a disc and all the rest of them are, you have to be religious in order to be that stupid. And it turns out that flat earthers are overwhelmingly motivated by trying to make reality conform to the biblical narrative, which actually doesn't really. Some of them say that it says the earth is flat, but it actually doesn't. So you guys want to talk about another super stupid conspiracy that everyone believes? And by the way, I'm not saying I don't think there are ever conspiracies. And right now, at this particular juncture, we are more, how would you say, like, primed for conspiracy than we have ever been in human history, because the prerequisites for, it's difficult to concentrate with pit bulls sniffing your toes. The prerequisites for a successful conspiracy are that there are a tiny number of people involved. Another reason why flat earth is so dumb, because it requires millions and millions and millions of conspirators over hundreds of years, that's not really possible to do. And you have to be able to establish that all the people involved have some sort of key bono, who benefits, that, the people, that small little group of people that would benefit are that tiny group that's capable of orchestrating the conspiracy. Well, we have the top 1% that has most of the wealth. And then within that 1%, the top 1% of that or something has, like, some crazy percentage of it. And big tech, big pharma, and the military industrial complex people are in a position and they benefit. And there's a very small group of them. So, there's absolutely no, this is, of all of the times to take the possibility that there's a conspiracy seriously, now is the time in human history. But again, that's one of the reasons why I think they're creating so many stupid fucking conspiracy theories. And now let's move on to adrenochrome. Adrenochrome is not real. It is a real compound, but it is not a psychoactive substance, really. It will cause a reaction, a biophysical reaction, but that reaction is sweating, nausea, anxiety, terror, schizophrenia. It will actually make you go insane where you cannot tell reality from, seeing shadow people. It's not real. And anyone that believes that it's real believes it just because they have read things on the internet. If you ever believe anything just because you read it on the internet, you might be an idiot. You know what I mean? It's just completely stupid. But the reason that adrenochrome is stupid, other than the fact that it literally does the opposite of what conspiracy theorists say it does, it would accelerate aging, right? Also, look at the elites. We're watching them age before our eyes. How old does Bill Clinton look right now? You know what I mean? Also, if you were to actually harvest adrenochrome from babies, the adrenal gland is so small and there's so little adrenochrome because it's basically a byproduct of adrenaline breaking down. There's so little in there, micrograms, like nothing. You would need like a truckload, a dump truck full of babies to get enough for like one dose. So, if the elites were actually taking this stuff on a regular basis, there would be like no humans left. And I realize there's a lot of trafficking and stuff, but there is absolutely no possibility that this is real. None. It does not do what people say it does. It is a terrible experience if you were to try it. There's just no reason for it. And it's true that it's a hemostatic, that it does something in your blood. But it is not going to make you stay young, and the elite are not harvesting it from babies. It's just not real. You can buy it from China for like $1 a liter or something. Not a liter, but what is little, it's like a little vial like this big. It's like 5 liters, actually. There's no reason either to steal truckloads of babies to harvest the adrenochrome. And to add dumb to dumber and then multiply it by stupid, this rumor about adrenochrome has its roots in a movie called Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. And it was not the conspirators putting it in your face because they love to do that so much. It was just a movie made by a guy that did a ton of drugs back in the 70s. And to add to the fact or the proof that he is not part of the elite conspiracy, that's what made him famous in the first place. He had no access to elites. He was not super rich. He was just some journalist that worked for Playboy that wrote a book. And that was the book that broke him. So he wasn't even rich when the adrenochrome thing came up. It's just a story from a book that never even happened. Later, he said most of the things in that book never happened. So yeah, adrenochrome and flat earth, those are the two that really stand out to me as, just incredibly dumb. And all you have to do is really do a little bit of objective research and you'll discover that, here's a great one. At the flat earth debate, I became aware about 3/4 of the way through it that the guy, we'll talk about the Bohemian Grove. The guy that I was debating was like this upper class black guy from England, not your typical flat earther, very sophisticated and educated. And as we started to get through it, and he started saying things like, the sun is electric, you can tell by looking at it. Like, did you hear what I just said? The sun is electric, you can tell by looking at it. I was like, bro, where's it plugged in? First of all, like, where's it plugged in? Did you really actually just say that the sun is electric? And it dawned on me that he didn't believe it himself. But he saw these flat earth leaders with these herds of flatheads, because there's no brain to support the top of their head, so it just drops down. You've seen those memes, right? He was trying to get rich and famous off of the naivety of flat earthers. So that's what I'm saying about, like, there was another one. This guy was telling me that he said, I learned a few weeks ago when I learned that meat is the cause of all disease. And immediately I knew. I said, where did you learn this? Oh, from this YouTuber. You don't learn things from one YouTuber making a claim. And I'll give you a demonstration of how, I was able to show this person how insane this was, because this YouTuber actually said that the way that we acquired the habit of eating meat was to crawl up to carcasses on the African plains and eat with like the vultures. Now, if I had enough money, just in case somehow this happened once somewhere, I would offer a huge reward to anyone that can find me video of a carcass that is just sitting on the fucking plains in Africa. If humans had acquired the taste for meat by trying to feed off of lion kills, they would all be dead. There would be no humans. They would have all gotten eaten, because you know what happens when the lions kill something and they're done eating? If they finish before all the meat is gone, the hyenas come. And you know what a hyena will do to a person? I mean, that's the thing that gets me, you guys. So much of this stuff is so easy to just think for a second, just a little bit further. And you can stop yourself from associating all of the, free-thinking people with idiocy. And that's really helpful. By the way, you guys, do me a favor and hit the like button. Speaking of conspiracies, censorship has definitely had a huge impact on me. The algorithm ignores me, and so we don't get a lot of support. I see there's 18 likes and 19 people, and most of those likes came before I started the stream. So really do appreciate it. And now, no, Flezic, they don't believe in gravity. They think gravity's fake. I use gravity today to extract gold from the river in the backyard. If gravity didn't work, then hold on, let's actually see if I cannot leave the planet. There's a dome above us. I mean, you're just saying stuff. There's no reason. What do you mean we can't leave the planet? Who says we can't leave the planet? You think there's a dome up there, but I can set up a telescope in the front yard and I can point it at all kinds of shit. And the more powerful the telescope gets, the more shit I can see out there in the universe. It doesn't just run out. So, like, how does this globe work? Is it like a magic sphere that Satan is able to, like, project images onto so that we continue to see? Just because you realize that powerful telescopes are not just in observatories. You can literally go to people's houses that have them. Like, the more money they have, the better the telescope. But there are, like, literally just regular ass people that have telescopes in their houses that you can see, like Alpha Centauri in high definition. I mean, why are you, how is there a firmament that's just decorated with stars and the moon and stuff? It's just been so long since I did the flat earth debate that I can't remember a lot of it, but there are laws that exert themselves on everything in the universe, right? So they're the same laws, and they exert themselves on all of the stuff. That's why everything is round in space for the exact same reasons that bubbles in a soda are round, or that a drop of water is round, or that a raindrop is round. It's just on a larger scale. It's not that hard to understand. No, the firmament does not seem possible because I have used telescopes that, see across the universe. Why? It's not, there's no firmament. There's no fucking firmament. So, the JFK assassination. You probably have to be a little bit stupid not to think there was probably something funny going on there. You can dig and dig and dig and dig, and it'll just get more and more and more and more true. The fact that there's only one party in the United States pretending that it's two. If you really just look at things, you can see that there's this trajectory of the middle class being drained and drained and drained and drained and drained, and the wealth concentrated and concentrated and concentrated and concentrated. Um, there are definitely certain things that are feasible. JFK probably being the one that sticks out the most. Fluoride in the water. That's one of those that kind of rides the line between maybe, maybe not. But here's the thing. If you actually think the government, the federal government, does anything because it's in your best interests, you will find your IQ written on the inside of your shoe. It does not. That is not what they were there for. They're not there to serve you. They're there to serve the interests of their owners. Period. End of story. That's it. Period. So suddenly they put a bunch of fluoride in the water, and it's supposed to be to help your teeth. I mean, that's just. And in 2013, I think it was officially added to the list of neurotoxins that are recognized as not fit for human consumption, and it's a neurotoxin. So exactly what people have always said about fluoride actually turned out to be true. And whether or not it's even good for your teeth in the first place is, debatable. So fluoride, JFK. Come on, guys. What's another one that could actually be real? Oh, I saw somebody put something in here earlier that I wanted to. Ball and the Bohemian Grove. I have taken initiation into various mystery schools over the course of my life. The most well-known being the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry and the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, the Stella Matutina lineage. And, there are elite people that are illuminated, that know that Jesus is just a allegory of, light and also the sun, that Jesus walking on water is just light reflecting on water, that, he spent 3 days on the cross because the sun takes 3 days to pass through the Southern Cross. You know what I mean? There are people that know that, but, and a lot more. But there is no, there's no satanic cabal that all of these people belong to. That's another one, the Illuminati, right? This is one of my favorite ones. The Illuminati was real and probably is still real, but almost everyone is completely wrong about what they were and what they do. And this is another one of those great examples of where you can just do a tiny little bit of research on your own and actually find out that nothing people say is consistent with any of the evidence. This is one of my absolute favorites, because what Adam Weishaupt was actually trying to do is stop the central banks from becoming the central banks, to get rid of borders so there could be no war. I have static from the mic. Let me see if... Hello, hello, hello. All right, it might be a little hot. Let me turn it down here. Hello, 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 hello. Okay. They were trying to get rid of religion and replace it with illumination, reason, basically a sort of spirituality that develops within each individual person, and that there is no central authority like a church. So basically non-denominational Gnosticism. So not Christian Gnosticism, but spirituality that's derived from internal experiences and not from some centralized authority. Basically, the Illuminati wanted to decentralize all of the institutions on the planet, because Adam Weishaupt realized that they were making people stupid on purpose, that they were consolidating the power, and he knew how to get in and create subterfuge and basically sabotage what people refer to as the New World Order. And if any of you guys that actually have a brain, assuming that you have a brain and that you're even a little bit cool, if you went and read Adam Weishaupt's writings about his plan, and think about the fact that they were found in his sock drawer because his house got raided, that's another thing. Okay, this is how dumb some of this stuff is. If the Illuminati was really leading the elites, they were the most powerful influence on the planet, right? Why did they go arrest him and break up his organization, you literally would get the death penalty for belonging to the Illuminati. And yet everybody believes that they're the rulers of the elites. It's just completely stupid. And you people are convinced because they see all of these stars, giving this symbol, and all of these logos and stuff that are supposed to be a cult. uh yeah, we really landed on the moon. I'm sure we really landed on the moon. It's not that hard. Yeah, I've done a bunch of streams on magic, and none specifically on witchcraft, I don't think. um But did I finish my thought about the Illuminati? Because that's a really important one, man. And the reason is Orwellian, right? It's not hard to understand why they do this stuff. If you are trying to control people, the last thing you want is that they're going to find some sort of powerful spiritual liberating tool that is going to confer enlightenment and liberate them from religion. And turn up the volume. I just turned it down because it was distorting. So hopefully, maybe I turned it down too much. Yeah. Hello, 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 hello. All right, that should be good. Um. Oh yeah. Okay. Is that better? Should be better. Uh, you would demonize the most powerful tool that these people could access. And the writings of Adam Weishaupt of the Illuminati are one of those things. They have convinced you that one of the most powerful, liberating tools that you could possibly find is absolute evil, and that if you see any signs of it, you should stay away from it. Don't read it. Don't become a Freemason. Don't do all of these things that would make you super illuminated and powerful and impossible to govern. Because that's the thing. If people attain illumination, no one can tell them what to do. Partly because they know they don't need to be told what to do. It's worse now? What do you mean it's worse? Is it distorting? Um, or what? Uh, so where was I? Yeah, I'm sorry about the sound. I don't know why we're having issues with that. So if you guys just keep updating me, I'll keep tweaking it. But honestly, this computer, it just has some kind of weird issues, and it'll change settings while I'm in the middle of a stream, and at that point, there's nothing I can do about it. So, yeah, I was basically talking about how, let me look here. The Orwellian technique of convincing you that your friend is your enemy and that your enemy is your friend is the central, um, well, my mic should be good, is the central tool that is employed. And convincing you that the Illuminati was this terrible. Look at the name Illuminati. Like, they're out to make zombies. They're trying to illuminate. That was the point. Um, so yeah, that's a big one, and it's really blatant. And what gets me is that the Adam Weishaupt's papers, the writings of Adam Weishaupt, the guy that actually founded the Illuminati, um, are available publicly. So you can go and read them yourself. Like, you don't need to, all of these conspiracy theorists that are conjecturing and making shit up and writing all these fanciful tales and shit. It's stupid. If you want to know what's going on with it, look for the Weishaupt papers. They've been published online, and almost everything in there. I mean, he wasn't perfect. He was a little bit crazy and egomaniacal. But most leaders of revolutions are, they're going to be intense people. I mean, I don't know about libertarianism. I do believe that people should have their rights, their sovereignty. But the problem is that they have engineered a very, very sick and toxic society. And over the last, I think, 20 or 30 years, it's become increasingly obvious that they're doing it deliberately. The United States has so much money. So why did they fall from like number one education system in the world to like number 33? That doesn't just happen. That's not an accident. You don't have all the resources and information and knowledge at your disposal that those people do, and then just fall 33 spots. It's not like they dropped two or three or something. It was a really steep plummet. yeah, do smash the like button. And that just reminded me of something else. Oh, bumbling government, like that the reason that it always appears that the leaders are doing stupid things and that they just don't know what they're doing, and it's all just bumbling bureaucracy that causes all the problems in the world. It's so dumb, it's unbelievable. If you think about the resources that they have, access to Princeton and Harvard and supercomputers and think tanks, and they basically have almost unlimited resources between the CIA, the NSA, all the Ivy League schools that they have, all that stuff, right? They can distill all of that information and then feed it into a fucking supercomputer that will tell, you know what I mean? Like, it's not bumbling bureaucracy. That is another one of the conspiracy sort of theories that I'll get behind, is that, a lot of the, like Joe Biden, for example, that's just a cover. I mean, you really think the Democratic National Party cannot find someone that's like James Bond if they wanted to? Somebody that had all this charisma, just barely old enough to be president, totally, dialed into, the best of the progressive ideas, balanced by some, conservative wisdom, and you know what I mean? It would not, they super genius intelligence, suave and debonair, it'd be so easy for them. The fact that they don't, the fact that they give you people like Trump and Biden and all of these like just awful, blithering, just, I mean, it's definitely deliberate. They do it on purpose. They absolutely do it on purpose because it gives them a sort of shield to do all of this stuff that is only in the best interest of the elite. And then they can just go, whoops, you guys shouldn't, it's your fault. It's your fault. Look, you elected these morons, didn't you? You know? And by the way, the election is another great example I can give you of how they have been instilling this Orwellian confusion in people's minds. Because if you think back to the election in, I guess, what was it, 2016, where Trump won against Hillary Clinton, and the left not only accused the right of rigging the election, but they accused Putin on national television of having interfered, right? So talk about trying to start World War III, undermining democracy. 4 years later, Trump loses, right? And then it just switches. And the same people that were saying you're undermining democracy by questioning an election started accusing the other side of undermining it. The same people. And it's only 4 years. It's not like it was like 40 years or 20 years or even 10 years. It was 4 years. And they have the people on the other side accusing, and when the one side accuses the other side of undermining democracy, they say it as if it's like the worst thing you could possibly do. But then 4 years later, those same people are saying that shit to the other side. And my opinion is that it's deliberate. They're making mush of people's brains. Just trying to catch up with your thoughts on cannabis being weaponized through genetic modification. I don't think that cannabis is being weaponized through genetic modification. But I would be weary of anything that comes from a major corporation. That's what scares me. When you have Monsanto and Philip Morris taking over Mendocino County, which is definitely something that happens. I lived in Northern California and I was a pot grower. And while I was there, Monsanto and Philip Morris started buying up all this land around Mendocino County. And, I mean, a lot of the food additives and stuff that when people come here to drink ayahuasca, if they eat a lot of processed foods, it doesn't work, And it is true that a lot of what the standard dieta that people are supposed to follow says is not real. Like, you can eat meat the day of, you can eat it that night. Ayahuasca does not get mad at you. The Shuar, one of the tribes here, will eat a monkey. Like, it's not even real. Like, it's nothing, that part of it. Absolutely no reality to it traditionally. In fact, you kind of have to watch it, because if you go straight to a lot of the indigenous here, they won't ask you any questions like, have you taken any SSRIs, or, you know what I mean? They ask you nothing. Because really traditionally the dieta was for someone who was preparing to become a shaman. But one thing I've noticed is that people that eat a ton of processed foods, it just like they have to drink it and drink it and drink it and drink it, and eventually it'll work. But they have to drink like ungodly, insane amounts. And my theory about it is that, you know, probably the like aluminum bicarbonate or whatever attaches itself in your receptors, and so the DMT can't lodge there and do anything. And you know that is by the way, you guys, we do appreciate support. I have lost a ton of patrons the last week or two because of a meme that I made. Speaking of all of this stuff, where it basically said new boss or old boss. There was a picture of Trump, and new boss picture of Biden, and that made a bunch of people mad for some reason. I can't imagine actually thinking that that isn't true. That's another one of the. This is sort of a reverse conspiracy theory, where instead of like hiding everything from people, they're just encouraging misperceptions. And you know, I've said this a million times on this channel, but Donald Trump was a ruse. You know, he is one of them. There is absolutely no way that that guy was a hero of the people. There's a reason why they chose someone who had made comments about being attracted to his own 13-year-old daughter to convince people that he was going to take the pedophiles down. They're forcing you to hold that level of cognitive dissonance in your mind, or you have to go against your demographic and believe something that the rest of them do not believe. You know what I mean? That it's, I think those things are totally engineered. And for a bunch of people that think that John F. Kennedy was assassinated because he went rogue, to believe that Donald Trump somehow went rogue and they just let him, you know, it's just, it's so inconsistent. It's so wildly inconsistent that I don't understand how it's possible to do it. Yeah, that's another one that is actually really really dumb too, and that is the idea that the whole psychedelic movement was created by the government, because you know they absolutely love undoing all the. What do you mean no sound? Hello, 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 hello. No, there's definitely sound. Does anyone else have no sound? I think there's sound. Oh, never mind. Okay. Okay, so the CIA and the Grateful Dead and all that stuff. It started out with the fact that Robert Hunter, who was a lyricist for the Grateful Dead, and King Kesey, who hosted the acid tests, which were these parties in I think 1963 until 1966, because they didn't make LSD legal until 66. Um, they had these parties, and I actually bought a DVD that had all of the video that existed from the acid test from King Kesey's son, who looked so much like Kesey that I thought I was hallucinating. Or he was driving not the original Further bus, but a replica, and he got out with one of Jerry Garcia's daughters at a fish show, and I was the second car there, and the Further bus was the first. So we were the only people in this parking lot. And he came walking out of the Further bus, and he had a picture of his dad on his shirt, and that's what, when my like brain snapped into like reality, like, oh, that can't be King Kesey, that's his son. Um, but yeah, and the videos are crazy. They have these like big barrels, and they're pouring all this. Owsley, the guy that made all the LSD in the '60s, is pouring like packets of crystal LSD in with all of these packets of um, Kool-Aid, and they're mixing it up. People are climbing around naked in the rafters, brushing their hair upside down, trying to get it right, like hanging upside down and not understanding why it won't go flat. And the thing about that is, like, what is the point in creating a revolution against yourself? They were so determined to give LSD a bad name that they actually created Charles Manson and the Manson family. And that is a matter of public record now, because the one of the main MKUltra guys, which by the way, in case you don't know, is program. I believe they started it actually in the mid 1950s or the late 1950s. and they did a lot of terrible things to people. There was one woman that woke up after 20 years or something because they figured out that LSD causes enhanced neuroplasticity. So you can reprogram the brain very, very rapidly. And because of all the enhanced electrical activity in the brain, the things that you learn are sort of burned in there. Instead of having to learn by repetition, you just like, and it's there. If you know how to do it, if you know how to use your breath and, you can remain focused and stuff. It's not like, you just take LSD and become a genius. That's not how it works. You have to know how to get the most from it. But they knew how it worked, and so they used a combination of electroshock therapy and LSD actually has a ceiling. So if you take, I think it's 2,500 micrograms, it doesn't get any stronger. That's it. That's all you can do. So if you eat a whole sheet, you're just wasting a lot of it because it just washes right out. All of your neurotransmitters are seated, and you can't add anything. It's full. You know what I mean? So they gave people the ceiling dose, and they would give them electroshock therapy, and then once they had completely erased their personality and all their memories and everything, they would reprogram them and then release them out into society. And this one woman went to the doctor in Canada. And this is another reason that MKUltra is so messed up, because they were actually doing this on foreign soil sometimes, because this woman was in Canada, I believe, or she may have been just on the New York, like almost in Canada, and maybe that. No, 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 that's it. She was living in New York, and she went across the border for some reason to see this doctor in Canada. And so one day she was at the grocery store and she was walking around, and by the way, this isn't like conjecture. There's lawsuits, and she won, and there's all Freedom of Information Act, all definitely true. Um, she just one day snapped out of it at the grocery store, and she's like, "This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife, or whatever." And so she remembered who she was, and she hired a lawyer. And that's actually how we found out about MKUltra, is because this woman just suddenly snapped out of it. And Oh, we should talk about Bob Marley, who is actually, there's a reason I named the stream after him, because they killed him for sure. And that's another one that is pretty much certain how they did it, why they did it. But let's finish with this MKUltra thing. So they knew that the neuroplasticity, neurogenesis, how that worked. Um, and so they also knew exactly the power of the tools that they were banning, what the power they had to end addiction, to stop maybe pedophilia, serial murder. Because what you have to wrap your head around here is that if there's any bad neuronet in your brain, doesn't matter how severe it is, LSD can repattern it. So, they knew how badly this could hurt Big Pharma, and that's the main reason that they outlawed these things, right? Not because they were trying to protect people. But anyways, so the rumor about the Grateful Dead and the psychedelic movement having been created by the CIA was just because Kesey, it came from the fact that Kesey and Hunter they volunteered for experiments in the mid 60s that were run by the CIA. And so that association grew into the rumors that the Grateful Dead were CIA operatives. And it's funny that people that believe in God, they see all these like weird powers that people have, and they don't recognize it as spiritual evolution. They just think it's a conspiracy. It's like everything that is too much of a coincidence that it either had to be, conspiracy or an act of spirit. They never think it's spirit because it's not consistent with what they think God would do. But that's another reason people are so suspicious of the Grateful Dead. They had some genuine power to induce gnosis in people and to change consciousness. And, people that are heavily influenced by Judeo-Christian thinking are very afraid of that. Luckily, they don't burn us all at the stake as much as they used to, but they're still very, very scared of it. So yeah, that's all that was. You have to think about the key bono again. Who benefits? And the government doesn't benefit anything from having, like Timothy Leary, tune on, turn in, drop out, and take over was actually his slogan. If you hear old recordings of him talking, that's what he actually said. Not just tune in, turn on, drop out. Tune in, turn on, drop out, take over. That's a big difference. And Leary was actually one of the highest IQs that has ever been recorded. Um, and I think it's really sad that he has this reputation of having been a CIA agent, because the real thing that happened is so impressive too. Um, he was actually framed because he was running for governor of California, I think in 1967, and it looked like he was going to win. And so, they're like, no, 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 Leary, you can't do that. And they went and arrested him. They planted marijuana in his car, he says, and I believe him because he knew. He's not stupid. He literally had one of the highest IQs ever. You know what I mean? He's going to drive around with cannabis in his car while he's running for governor. He knew better. I don't think he did. And so they gave him somehow 30 years. He was like 60 something. So he was basically a life sentence for two roaches. Um, you don't do that to people because you want them to go out and be part of a conspiracy. This is the same thing as, like, if the Illuminati is on the side of the elites, why did they arrest them and then put out death warrants for all the members? Doesn't really make a lot of sense. No, Jewish mystics are not trying to bring about the end of the world by fulfilling their own biblical prophecies. And there are plenty of Jewish mystics, indigenous, indigo. I don't know what you mean, but Jewish mysticism is, like, definitely one of the most legit metaphysical or spiritual systems that I've ever encountered. There's definitely something legitimately weird going on with it. Okay, so I went off base again, and this was okay, Timothy Leary, right? So, also I would like to see who was writing that guy's speeches and books for the CIA, because man, some of the stuff Leary said blows Terrence McKenna out of the water. And the reason that people think that he was that's where we were at, that he was an operative, is because after they busted him and they put him in a cell with Charles Manson, thinking that Manson would maybe kill him or something, and Nixon had said that he was the most dangerous man in the world. So that didn't work out. It got him hella respect in the penitentiary, of course, because Manson loved him. And he was broken out of prison by a Weatherman Underground helicopter under heavy fire and taken to Africa. And he was arrested by the CIA in Algiers and sent back to prison. And so they said that if he gave up information about other counterculture leaders, they would release him. So Leary said, okay. And he went in there and pretended to tell the cops a bunch of stuff. But he was so much smarter than them. He didn't give them anything useful. Not a single charge was filed because of any of Leary's ratting. So he basically just made mincemeat of the cops and walked out of jail. And because of that, now you can't get out of jail unless the information that you provide to the police actually leads to an arrest. And that is because of Timothy Leary tricking them. He talked about everyone that they asked, but he knew how to say all this stuff, and none of it was true, none of it was real, and none of it would lead to charges, and he got out of jail. So it's just absolutely ridiculous. Leary was an extraordinary catalyst of consciousness, and one of the most important people that has lived in the last 100 years easily. So I think it's really sad that people have kind of stopped reading Leary, and that so many people are suspicious of him because the rumors grow, and the fact that he did talk to the feds became Timothy Leary was a CIA agent. But he just tricked them so he could get out of prison. I don't blame him one little bit. If I had known that I could pretend to talk about a bunch of people and not get anyone in trouble and get out of prison, I would do it too in a heartbeat. Who cares? Didn't hurt anyone. I saw something else in here that I wanted. By the way, you guys, please do hit the like button. Really trying to rally this channel. The algorithm ignores me, so I really have to fight to get any views. Sorry, I'm just trying to go back and look. Yeah, the Grateful Dead were magicians, and magicians in the mystery school sense are not people that do like magic. They don't put curses on people. It's none of that bullshit. All they do is basically alter their consciousness through a variety of methods, ranging from meditation and fasting and psychedelics and contemplation, just all of these different techniques in order to evolve their own consciousness, to understand the universe better, and then sometimes through the accruing of knowledge of natural law, they're able to, in a way that appears to be supernatural, do some pretty extraordinary things and take control of the forces of nature so that they can transcend them rather than being controlled by them. And so, in that sense, the Grateful Dead absolutely were magicians. They definitely catalyzed consciousness, and I mean, it's the most powerful and important experience in my life for sure. Was exposure to the energy of live Grateful Dead. Um, okay, so we're going to talk about Bob Marley. Here's another one of the conspiracies that is actually true. And Bob Marley did not necessarily die of cancer. He did have cancer, but he was tortured to death by a Nazi war criminal. And there are witnesses to everything I'm going to tell you. There are pictures you can find online of this guy. Everything is well documented. So it's not, I should say, it's not 100% proven, but the evidence is pretty solid. And so what happened is that, Bob Marley got cancer, and he was an avid soccer player, as Jamaicans tend to be, and he had a photo shoot where he was given a pair of boots by this reporter. And right in front of all of the reporters and everything, he put them on, and something stabbed his big toe, the one that he would end up getting cancer in. And he went inside the boot and pulled the copper wire out, and everyone looked around, and the reporter that had given him the boots was gone. And so the type of cancer that he got in that toe, it's like 1 in 100 million black men get it. Like, it's just not a type of cancer that black men get. And I guess, I don't know, it was probably 6 months later or something, he was playing soccer, and he kicked a soccer ball, and that toe just like crumbled inside. And so he went to the doctor, and they said, you have cancer. And so at first Marley said, well, Jah Rastafari, I'm not, me don't need no doctor, man. And so then he didn't go to the doctor, and then he got very, very sick. And so um he eventually decided that he wanted to go see a doctor. So he was asking around, like, who's the best, like, cancer specialist. And one day he's walking down the road, and these two dreads come up to him, and they're like, yo, man, we got your doctor, man. He's in Austria. And it turns out he was in Austria because he was a Nazi. He was a Nazi war criminal. He was one of the Nazis that the CIA scooped up and put to work doing something. Um, and so Marley trusted them because he thought, they're Rasta. So, I can trust Rasta. So, and by the way, people that were real, Bob Marley was absolutely the most real of them all. John Lennon was a total farce. But Bob Marley was legit, man. He got shot twice. And like 2 days later, he did a public concert with no way to protect him, with both of the leaders of the opposing political parties, and stood on the stage with their hands clasped above his head. And like, I mean, he was Bob Marley walking like he talking. He definitely was the real deal, as real as it gets. Definitely would, without hesitation, put his life on the line for the cause of unifying people. So he was a genuine fucking badass. And so he goes to see this doctor in Austria, and his wife Rita has testified to all this. The doctor would do things like strap him to a gurney and then put a needle through his back in order to access his stomach for some reason. And other doctors that looked at this story said, there's no medical reason why you would need to do that. And I've seen photos of Bob Marley's biological father. Him was a white man, Babylon. Bob Marley was an amazing person, man. I got a lot of Bob Marley stories, but so he was basically tortured to death by this Nazi war criminal, and Rita said he weighed like 90 pounds when he died, and the dude took like 2 or 3 weeks to slowly kill him. And they said that when they walked in the office, the doctor looked at Bob Marley and he said, "So I hear you're the most dangerous black man in the world." And if it was me, and I walk in to get help from a doctor, and that's the first thing they say to me, I don't know why he didn't just turn around and go right out the door right at that moment. But it later was uncovered that the guy that gave him the boots was the son of the director of the CIA at the time. And Freedom of Information Act has also exposed the fact that that the CIA figured out how to transfer cancer to people via copper wires a few years before the guy gave Bob Marley the boots that transferred the chemical into his big toe that gave him cancer. So that one's true. It sounds like. I mean, all the eyewitnesses and the photographs that show that reporter definitely was the CIA director's son and did not have any job anywhere as a reporter in real life. That one is pretty solid. And to add insult to injury, Bob Marley and John Lennon were slated to start recording an album together 2 weeks after. I can't remember which one of them because they both died that year. John Lennon and Bob Marley, I think it was both in 1980, or maybe one was 80 and the other was 81. But that also sort of suggests to me that the decision to get rid of both of them probably came at the same time, because when they realized, okay, we have this like prophet, Rastaman that's about to make an album with John Lennon. He's about to become like ultra stupid famous. This album is gonna, just unify way too many people. They just couldn't have it. Um, so they tortured Bob Marley to death. Um, let's see what else we got here. Just looking for any questions or comments I might have missed. Yeah. So, I'm not sure that I actually have anything else to say about this. I just, um, you know, I have developed. Oh, looks like the stream may have died just as I was about to wrap it up. Let me give it a minute, see if we're back online. It looks like. Um, oh yeah, we're definitely losing the thing. I just wanted to jump on and offer this because for myself, I have cultivated over a lifetime a very strict and regimented protocol that allows me to be open-minded while still applying a lot of critical thinking and checking myself, double checking myself, triple checking myself, and everybody else too, so that we can stand in the light of truth with confidence and say nothing that comes out of my mouth is incorrect. As close to um, that as possible, which it's not entirely possible, but you know what I mean. Like we can all do a lot better at it. Um, Man, those flat earthers earlier, holy shit balls! It's just amazing, and you can tell like the sentences that they put together are like barely coherent, and none of their arguments make any sense at all. And that's why another conspiracy that uh, that is not really a conspiracy, but just management, is how religion was institutionalized, because it would not be possible to sell anyone an idea that is that stupid without the influence of religion. And if you're going to dispute me on that, find me some people that are otherwise reasonably intelligent that believe things that are that stupid. It's just not going to be possible. So I appreciate all you guys. I apologize about the laggy stream quality. Um, and I hope this was illuminating. And I hope you guys all become patrons, because tomorrow we're doing a secret stream. And we are not going to talk about we're not doing the Masonic degree tomorrow. I'm going to open up a little bit and talk about some much crazier shit even than that. And basically, what it has to do with is the fact that what is now being called quantum loop theory, and Roger Penrose has described this process of uh, how the universe basically recycles itself. I had a vision a bunch of years ago, and I don't think it was all at once even. It's like the pieces just kind of trickled in. And it is so precisely what Penrose is describing and saying they've proven mathematically, that it is it's really got my gears turning. Because I, well, I'm gonna save it for the patrons. I don't know what you mean by NASA is real. I mean, I don't know if NASA does all the things they say they do. I don't know if they're secretly way more advanced than they say they are. But the idea that we can't travel to the moon when we have um, uh, quantum. Thank you, Flezick. When we have quantum computers, that I mean, that's a crazy one too, you guys. The what is it called? The simulation theory. I wasn't really paying much attention to it, mostly because I don't care. It doesn't tell us whether there's a god or not, and I don't really care if there's super advanced aliens that have created a simulation or whatever. You know what I mean? It doesn't answer any of the big questions. It might be another layer of like, what the fuck is this? But it doesn't do anything. Um, but then when I started thinking about the fact that we have AI that is claiming that it's conscious, and then we also have quantum systems that exist in computers now, and we live in a reality that's made of quantum particulates that seem to have some kind of relationship with consciousness, we're getting really close to the singularity, which has been proposed, where consciousness is downloaded into computer system, basically. And so, the reality of having AI, conscious or not, and then quantum systems that exist in computers, I think, we're already kind of worried about what's going to happen with AI because so many people are going to be obsolete so fast. Um, that I think people are afraid even to try to imagine what's going to happen when we catalyze AI with quantum computers. What's going to happen? Um, well, Zindra, I know the moon landing. That moon landing does seem kind of janky, but you can literally see man-made stuff on the moon, so somebody's been there. I mean, you may doubt the moon landing, but there's definitely stuff on the moon that was put there by, either Russia, China, or the U.S. because it looks just like stuff that we have down here. So, yeah, somebody went there. And then when you say, the key bono there, like who benefits from faking the moon landing, um, I don't really see what the point is. When you have these like massive attempts to trick the entirety of the planet, um, it's a little bit, again, the flat Earth thing. This is similar, where you know it's not just that you have to trick or get United States citizen scientists and astronomers and astrophysicists and all of these people, and air pilots and sea captains and all of these motherfucking people to collude together. You're proposing that all of the ones in Pakistan and China and India and Australia and Japan and everywhere, all over the planet, are all conspiring together to create this illusion that is just part of a satanic conspiracy to trick. And there's no such thing as Satan. Um, the people that created the Jewish religion didn't believe that Satan was Satan. Hasatan is the adversary. It was a title, and it was used for like 13 different people in the Old Testament. It's not even. It's got. I mean. Yeah, I have wondered how did they get back? Because it's one thing to get there, um, but getting back, that's a hell of a trick. I've been meaning to research that for a while, so thank you for reminding me about that. Hit the like button, you guys. If there's anything else, if you guys can think of any conspiracies that I didn't comment on, that I feel like there were some major points that I was trying to make, but for me, it's about the fact that we cannot describe the propaganda to people. We can't talk about the propaganda. We can't talk about social engineering without being associated with conspiracy theorists that are, legitimately viewed, not entirely, but widely as, naive idiots, because most of them are naive idiots. Most of the conspiracy theory narratives came out of Christian fundamentalist, hardcore right wing religious nut stuff. In fact, the original book that catalyzed The the whole conspiracy theory movement was a book called Secret Societies that was written by this absurdly Christian lady. And what actually started it all is just that Adam Weishaupt was trying to get rid of religion. And to a Christian, that is just the work of the devil. So that is the seed that started all of this shit. And it's just not true. Mystery schools are not evil. The Illuminati were doing exactly what I would do if I could somehow. You know what I mean? It's just, yeah. 9/11 I didn't really mention. Um, that Here's the thing though. I have an aunt that saw the plane crash into the Pentagon. But I saw a picture today, and there's like no debris from a plane anywhere. And there's a lot of things I forgot to mention that, but obviously there was something seriously fucking fishy with 9/11. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. I think we're gonna lag a bunch again. Um, but yeah, that's the main thing for me is that it makes it more difficult for us all to communicate things that are really important, that we need to communicate. We're hampered in doing that by this association with bad information, you know. And so that was the point of the stream, to try to help out with that. And the thing is, you can't put anything past them. That's true. You know, just the MKUltra stuff that we know about, having kidnapped innocent citizens and destroyed their lives, um, that should be evidence enough for people that there are really no limits. And one of the things that always drives me nuts is that when people hear uh, something like 9/11 was an inside job, and then somebody says they wouldn't do that, and it's like, okay, if somebody has already killed a bunch of people, and then they're accused of killing someone, and then everyone says, well, they wouldn't do that, even though they know that person has already killed many, many people, not just like, one murder. Okay, one murder, maybe they're never going to do it again. But 15, probably not going to stop anytime soon. And that's what it's like. It's like people that know that someone's a serial killer, just all for some reason that has nothing to do with reality, just all decide that, they wouldn't do that. And that is the case with United States. Another one is, if you seriously think that JFK was assassinated, and something like 70% of US citizens believe that, how could you possibly say they wouldn't rig an election? You know what I mean? And the fact that people are able to hold such tremendously glaring contradictions in their minds and live with them for decades without even noticing is fucking terrifying. You know? If they would assassinate an elected president, they would rig an election as well. That's not worse. But yet the same people that believe that JFK was assassinated insist on the absolute integrity of elections in the United States. Explain that shit to me. I'll wait. Explain it to me. It's crazy, man. And then there's another one. People talk about a certain protection that people are being advised to take that I can't even mention because conspiracies. Um, why are they targeting the sheep? Because if you do what you're told, you're one of the sheep. So that whole thing seems a little bit wonky all of a sudden, doesn't it? And then you have to ask yourself, damn, if I haven't thought of that, what am I missing and what else am I missing? And that's the way this kind of stuff goes. And this is why it's so important to really scrutinize these things. And I'm not saying there's nothing fishy with that, but almost everyone that I've ever pointed out, so you're saying that this thing that everyone's being told they should do, let's see, refreshed. Oh, wow, is it gone? Oh no, it says excellent connection. How many do we have? 12? Um, yeah, and again, you guys hit the like button, share, subscribe, support us on Patreon. I've been losing a lot of patrons lately, and it's too bad because I know there's good stuff the patrons get. But saying that both presidents are equally pieces of shit is too much for so many people that it blew my mind that anyone would really be or be surprised that I would say that. You know what I mean? I've been saying that forever. Who the hell knows me well enough that they would want to be a patron and then delete their patronage because I said something you would expect me to say? I mean, that's just kind of more likes, guys. Come on, man. Is your finger heavy? Like what? What is this? But so yeah, I mean, I hope you understood what I was saying about the thing that I can't talk about, because that is crazy that most people, you know, they'll say that. Oh yeah, it's part of a Depop agenda. Okay, well they're getting rid of exactly the people they should. Then so what's the problem? What are you whining about? If you're not, you know what I mean? So why say what? Why say what? I'm not quite getting that question. Yeah, well, you know, just like everyone else, I got bills to pay, and I have to be able to justify spending hours and hours and hours on this channel. And you have to understand that I feel like my content's been getting better, but to have people deserting, bailing the ship faster and faster, regardless of my improvements after being demonetized and shadow banned and stuff, you know, it's frustrating. And honestly, this might sound a little bit egoic, but I have been ahead of the herd pretty consistently for like 4 or 5 years. And I'll see things that I've been talking about for a long time get really popular and make creators huge. And people act like they're like groundbreaking, amazing. And it's like, this is old news to anyone that's been watching my channel for years. That gets a little bit difficult too. You know, I try to be egoless, but, you know, being ahead that far, the problem is that nobody's ready to hear it yet. And then once they are, I've already moved on to other stuff. And, um, yeah, that's what I'm saying, Zendra, though. But why are they taking out the sheep if that's what's happening? You know what I mean? And the important thing is just that we examine the fact that, you know, if you haven't thought of that, what else have you missed? You know, and people, one of the big issues with all this is that people have a lot of ego, and, you know, this fear is rooted in unknowing, right? That's like the biggest motivator. People are so scared of the unknown that they become religious. You know, they adopt these political narratives and believe in them wholeheartedly. They believe that elections can't be rigged. You know what I mean? Like they just want to know. And then people believe really dumb conspiracy theories also for the exact same reason. They're afraid of the unknown. They just want to know. Um, yeah. So the thing is, you have to separate yourself from that ego, and you have to be glad when you find out you're wrong, you know, instead of feeling hurt or ashamed or insulted or embarrassed, whatever it is. You know what I mean? You should be like, yes, I am closer to the truth. I am standing in the light and I can walk with knowledge wisely. You know what I mean? And that's a huge thing. Like people fall in love with their ideas. And as a person that that is that has, you know, I've been committed to this thing of like revising all my thoughts. And I actually have done exercises for a long time where like any idea that I have, I generate the opposite idea and then like look at them, like whatever I think, I try to think the opposite and then look for all the reasons it could be true. And that way I sort of develop this, I don't want to say omniscient, but you know what I mean? I'm able to see things from so many different perspectives at once because I've just constantly conditioned myself not to believe anything. You know, my mind stays flexible because I have never like crystallized into, you know, someone that has a specific position. And, you know, I think that's actually really, really uncommon. People are comforted by thinking that they know things and that they can define themselves with certain parameters and stuff. And that's actually not, that's anti-evolution. Like you're making yourself weaker if you do that, because a lot of people think that evolution is about the strongest surviving, and it's not. It's the most adaptable. And that the place that starts is in your mind. So You know what I mean? You should really celebrate finding out that you're wrong about things, and be really willing and open to accept that you don't know shit about anything really. You know what I mean? Um, the wonderful thing about Gallon-Kruger for a lot of people is that it's curable. If you're really, really, really dumb, there's no cure for that. But in the case of most people, it's a matter of indoctrination, or fear, or both, or a lack of self confidence, a lack of individuation, a lack of knowledge of yourself, and a lack of purpose. It's not actually stupidity. It's just that one or more of those influences is such that it leaves you um, subjected, or what is the word, where you can be affected by something, predisposed uh, to some variation of consumption and regurgitation of misinformation. My thoughts on the one world government is that none of you guys have ever read Robert Anton Wilson. You absolutely should. And he is probably the person, except their first book was by this right wing Christian lady in the 1930s, and it's just called Secret Societies. But the next person to really make the idea of the Illuminati and all this kind of stuff famous was a guy named Robert Anton Wilson, who was one of the most brilliant minds in human history, unquestionably. And he really knew what he was talking about. He really did the research. He was involved in thelemic societies, and he knew what was up. Uh, and he wrote a book called the Illuminatus Trilogy in 1977. And it was basically about this guy who finds himself kind of kidnapped by the Illuminati, except it turns out that there are 5 Illuminatis, and none of them even know for sure if they're the real original Illuminati. And I mean, by the time you get through it, the greatest benefit of it is that you don't know shit, and you're never going to find anything out. So you might as well just stop believing stuff, because it's just getting in your way and tripping you up. Um, and interestingly, a side note is that the only absolutely incontrovertible evidence of precognition with great specificity that we have is in that book. And there are actually 2 or 3 examples, but the craziest one, and he was alive when this happened. There are interviews with him where he addresses it, sort of. He doesn't really say much, but he actually gave the coordinates of a pyramid in that book that were, way out in the middle of the ocean, super deep spot. I think the Mariana Trench or whatever it is, that, the deepest of the deep. And in 2003, the pyramid was found in that exact spot. So, it's just really interesting that a lot of people, of course, said, well, that's because he was really an Illuminati guy and he was in on it and all that stuff. But also, he mentions that the United States government, or in the book, the United States government is doing black flag attacks on itself, um, and then creating legislation to control the population after they attack themselves, um, which also happened. So what was I saying about Robert Anton Wilson, though? I kind of got off base. Man, yeah, that's too bad, because I had a point about Robert Anton Wilson that wasn't specifically about the Illuminatus trilogy, although should definitely read it. Damn, I can't believe I lost that. Robert Anton Wilson. Well, whatever. Go read the Illuminatus trilogy. Maybe I can find the comment that sparked that. Man, I can't believe I lost my train of thought about that, because it was a really good. Robert Anton Wilson made. Oh, he was the other person that made um, the Illuminati and all of these ideas really, really well known. That kind of put them out in the mainstream. And his basic conclusion at the end of the day was that uh, the Illuminati were real and still probably are, um, but they're doing literally the opposite of what people think they are. And I don't even think that was the point I was going to make because I already said that tonight. So, anyways, moving on from Robert Anton Wilson because I'm pissed off that I forgot what I was going to say about him. Oh, I was probably just saying that, if you really want to understand the extent to which your thinking is convoluted and how convoluted and insane and tangled uh, a narrative can become, you have to read the Illuminatus trilogy. Because then by the time it's over, you'll realize that you have no hope, really, of knowing anything for certain. Um, but all right, it's 9:30, and I have to divide my time between, there are other things in my life, besides YouTube. But keep your eyes on my shorts, man. There is a coati living here. You know what a coati is? Most of you probably don't know what a coati is. It's kind of like a raccoon, but it also kind of looks like an anteater, but it also kind of looks like a bear, but it also kind of looks like a ring-tailed cat, but it also kind of looks like a lemur. And this thing just shows up here every day. It's not a pet. Like, it just has decided it hella likes people. And I came out this morning and there's a fucking coati playing with my son and a chihuahua. And it's just like, so I'm making a lot of videos of this coati because it's crazy and it really likes me. It's like attached itself to me super hard. It like always comes over and just leans on me and stares at me. And it's got a super long snout with like an upturned nose and it's always just like sniffing and fucking super weird, man. All right. Philip K. Dick. Yeah, I've heard a lot about Philip K. Dick, and I've never actually read any. Um, I feel like if I had time to go back and watch this, I would realize like, oh shit, I missed all this super important stuff. Um, but I, I really feel like the Orwellian wrecking ball propaganda that they're using is something that people really need to learn about. If this is something I realized when I was sitting in class when I was a kid, like maybe ninth grade or something. Yeah, discernment. Don't leave home without it. That's definitely solid advice. Um, but I realized they were warning us about propaganda all the time. Like, look out for, if you were Chinese or, the Germans used all this propaganda back in the day. But I noticed they didn't teach you how to recognize propaganda. They didn't tell you how propaganda worked. They, you know what I mean? It's not taught in universities. Like, if that's, you're supposed to watch out for propaganda and protect yourself from it, why didn't they teach you how to spot it? Yeah, I think they are cryptids actually. Something like that. Yep. Um, Freemasonry's great, man. It's too bad that people are scared of it. I mean, of course, there are bad apples and everything. Um, but it's actually just a really good and powerful tool. And there are good Freemasons, bad Freemasons. In fact, there was a 33rd degree Mason that was supposed 32nd degree Mason that was supposed to come on this channel, but he's ghosting me now. I don't know what happened. It kind of made me sad because I was looking forward to having that. And at any rate, I can tell that I should not continue to talk because my throat is starting to give out and I'm not super lucid. So I'm just tired. We just moved, just got in here yesterday. I spent a few hours panning, well, not panning for gold, but using a sluice box. And I found a tiny bit, but um, at any rate, you guys do hit the like button, share, subscribe, support us on Patreon, or there are options in the chat. If you appreciate people, putting their asses on the line in order to get the truth out there, I'm probably a decent person to support because I say things all the time that I know are going to cost me money, and I say them anyways because there are more important things in this world than your bottom line. So, I will be back very soon. We still have some spots at our retreat, but it is filling up. So if you're interested in hermetic ritual magic or ayahuasca, and we're lucky enough to be working with some barely contacted people. So the very, very unaffected traditions and personalities and energy. And that is a really crazy honor and opportunity that just does not, it's going to be an extinct one sooner than later. But yeah, I'm going to go get some water, and everyone hit the like button. All of you, do it now. And comment too. Please, you guys, go into the comments and make comments that are questions and get people talking, because a shadow ban doesn't mean that the algorithm does nothing with me. It just means that I get the lowest priority, right? So in order to push me up higher in the algorithm, all of the things need to happen that, more in order to lift it even a little bit. So thank you guys so much for spending this time with me. I realize you could do anything in the world or anything else. There's so much content out there. So it's really awesome and meaningful when people spend time with little old me. And the next couple of streams are going to be really good. I think I've got some ideas of brewing. And, keep your head on straight. Stop believing dumb things and learn how to apply discernment, critical thinking. And, we all do it. Don't be embarrassed. I'm not trying to shame anybody. But it's really, really, really important that those of us that are out there speaking the truth, have really made sure we know what we're talking about, before we say something, fuck around and say something stupid and discourage people from joining us. That's making intelligence almost criminal is also not a conspiracy theory. It's definitely real. That one is definitely real. And not until the stream's over. So yeah, I know that's inconvenient, but you'll have to actually come back when I shut the stream down and comment. Or any of you guys that watch it on the rerun, please comment. Yeah, so demonizing intelligence, demonizing free thinking is definitely part of the agenda. Like I said, I think that flat Earth is almost definitely a psyop, that they engineered it just to make free thinking people look like a bunch of insane idiots. That was the whole point of flat Earth. I think a lot of it is created by people. Oh, and another one is the green energy conspiracy. Of course, there are always going to be lies. There are always going to be people that exaggerate. But you have to ask, cui bono? And in the case of, and I'm not talking about people that say that there are things going on with the green movement that aren't right. I'm talking about people that just blanket statements say that, like, eco-conscious people, that it's just all evil. They are mouthpieces for big oil. And they really think that they're taking down the elite. Who do they think the elite are? The people that are at the top of the oil companies. You know what I mean? So, well, you gotta stop it over there. It's Pitbull and its baby. It's cute, but it's really loud. The people that think that they're exposing the truth and tearing down their overseers are actually spewing propaganda designed by the people they think they're defeating. Like, that is literally happening right now. A lot of people. And there are different arenas where they do that, where they have people that think that they're actually taking them out, spewing their crap. So watch out, you guys. Also, before I dip out, I just want to remind everyone that you have to be just as suspicious of the alternative narratives as you are the mainstream narratives. Because if you were the propaganda machine, who would you be targeting with misinformation? The mainstream? You can tell them anything, it's true, and they'll just or bah, or whatever they do. You know what I mean? What do you mean? How does the gaseous atmosphere cling to the spinning rock like Velcro? You can simulate that in your bedroom and understand how that works. Like, it's just not. That's called Gallon-Kruger. It's like you don't understand something, so you think it's not real, and that is just so egocentric that it's just completely insane. There, you can watch steam stick to moving objects, and there are reasons why that happens. And also gravity. You can also evaporate liquid inside of a plastic sphere and just watch it collect everywhere. There's all sorts of things you can do. But before I was distracted, I know we were talking about the fact that they have, the alternative narratives. You have to really watch out, because if you're going to poison the waters, it's going to be the ones those people are drinking from. So, and that's one of the things I think the biggest mistake people make with this is they get out of the mainstream matrix box and they're like, okay, now I believe every stupid thing that's not mainstream. And that's not it. That's not it. You have to be prepared to reject like 99% of the things that come into your awareness, because there is just an overwhelming deluge of bullshit, much of it designed to cause you mental harm. you know what you know what I mean? That is just flooding everything everywhere right now. That's not conspiracy. That's just obvious. And people jump out of one box and they land in another box, and they're still trapped in a box, but they think, now I'm not mainstream, so now I'm woke, or now I'm a right winger, or now I'm this, and now I'm that, and it's just another fucking box. You can't put a label. If you can put a label on yourself, you probably need to rethink and re-engineer yourself. But yeah, good night, you guys. People just keep popping on, and I'm like, man, there's an audience. Yeah, so hit the like button, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys again very soon.